All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I think this is a first for us in our series of better understanding the Indian consumer, as well as understanding the journeys of the founders who we've collaborated with and what you can learn from them as you know, as founders yourselves are starting up as well. So today we have with us Siddharth Gadia. He's the co-founder and CEO of Zeno Health. It's an omni-channel pharmacy business that operates over about 150 stores today across 3 cities. They do close to $30 million in ARR and $50 million in GMV ARR today. Siddharth's been on this journey for a few years, and I've had the pleasure of working very closely with him. So I'm super excited about this conversation. Siddharth, first of all, welcome, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Varun. Thank you very much for inviting me as well.
Yeah, you're welcome. So Siddharth, why don't we start with, for everyone who doesn't know you, your background, where you came from, what your growing up years were like, and how that really shaped your entrepreneurial journey, the choices you made going into college. I know you have a fascinating story about getting into college as well. And a lot of the resilience was built through that journey. So if you could maybe elaborate about that, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's that's an interesting story, Varun. So I belong to a small place called Ratlam. It is a lot of people might not know it, but it is a place near Indore. Belong to a Jain Marwadi परिवार, and उसमें ऐसा है कि किसी ने तो नौकरी करी नहीं है, right? So it runs in the blood कि करना है तो business ही करना है, right? So from the start, when I was young, at that time also being helping family in their business and stuff चल ही रहा था. At that time, my sister did CA, and she told me that CA तो नहीं करना है. So then the only option left is to do engineering, and in engineering the best is to go into IIT. But then business भी करना है तो engineering क्यों करें और stuff like that became a question. And at that time, दैनिक भास्कर करके एक पेपर आता था रतलाम में, and there entrepreneurship cell start हुआ था IIT बॉम्बे में. Right, I was, I think, in 9th, and उस टाइम ऐसा लिखा होगा कि entrepreneurship तो नहीं चमकता होगा ये वर्ड, बट कुछ बिजनेस सेल चालू हुआ, ऐसा कोई हिंदी आर्टिकल आया था. एंड आई थॉट अच्छा आईआईटी भी कर लो, इंजीनियरिंग भी हो जाएगी और बिजनेस भी के भी सेल है तो बिजनेस भी हो जाएगा. सो ये आईआईटी बॉम्बे ही जाना है अब तो.
I guess, Siddharth, what about that whole experience of the resilience you showed and the risk you took of just getting up one day and saying I'm not going anywhere but IIT, dropping out of Bharati Vidyapeeth? What about the, and also the business background, and I know your family operated shops in Ratlam. Yeah. How has that shaped the choices of problems that you strive to solve, the business models that you tried to use to solve those problems, also the lessons around resilience and other things? How have those shaped you as an entrepreneur today?
Yeah, so one thing is very rightly said, Varun, कि resilience चाहिए, right? Persistency चाहिए, है ना? Persistency is the key. कि persistency चाहिए. If you believe, मतलब let's say मैं भारतीय विद्यापीठ भी चला गया, but there was always an इच्छा बोल सकते हैं आप उसको, या एक belief that I can crack it, right? I can crack it. ठीक है, अभी नहीं हुआ, but I can crack it. So that belief was there, and that belief is basically which generates your persistency, right? So if you have the core belief, the belief चला गया तो persistency नहीं आती. So the persistency, it looks like persistency is the key, क्या persistent रहो, but below persistency is belief. So if your belief is strong, you will be persistent.
And can you talk a little bit about your initial days as an entrepreneur? I know you had many ideas, and so maybe from the first idea, how did you end up at Zeno Health?
Correct. So as जो ये है, आप क्या बोलते हैं, फीलिंग अंदर के कुछ ना कुछ करना है. I come from a place called Indore, Ratlam, where pohas are very बहुत ही अच्छे मिलते हैं, as we feel. So it started with कि यार पोहा चालू करना है, right? कि पोहे की एक चेन होनी चाहिए, right? It started with that. So when you have something that कुछ ना कुछ करना है, you have a lot of ideas. So I started a poha chain also, right? In my days, in very early 2014, before leaving the job, just before leaving the job, right? And then I'm just wanted to share is like, if anybody who is thinking about anything कि यार ये करना है, they should do it, right? Then when they go into it, they will realize कि इसमें क्या क्या चीजें problem है. That is the learning. When you learn yourself by doing it, is the learning you will get. You will not get it from books. You will not get it from anybody else. or looking at anybody else. It is only when you start doing, right? When I started that, I realized mein kitne sare problems hain aur kya hoga, right? And that is where and that time I put down my paper, and I started a technology company after that. And that technology company was solving a boredom problem for people who are traveling. And it was an offline media delivery technology, which was like at that time in 2014 was not common. Abhi uske baad to kafi logon ne usme kiya kuch. But doing that, I realized. So first Poha mein I realized कि उसके में अंदर दूसरे challenges हैं. It is not as fast scalable as the other things. So went into technology. When I went into that technology startup or started that, I realized कि यार इसका market बहुत छोटा है, right? And even if मैं अगर इसमें सब कुछ cover कर लूँगा तो 300-400 करोड़ रुपए बनेंगे, right? For life. So if I have to devote my life, I have to devote my 10, 15, 20 years into it. Why to devote in a smaller market? Go for a bigger market. And that is where I folded that company knowing कि अच्छा चल रहा है, but इसका market थोड़ा छोटा है. You want to do something big. I folded that company. And when I was running that company, I was running from Girish's office, who happened to become my co-founder for my next venture.
I guess, you know, obviously having entrepreneurship is a fairly lonely journey, and having a co-founder, you know, I guess eases some of that loneliness because you have someone on the journey with you. But it also comes with its own challenges, right? In terms of decision making, I'm sure there are lots of disagreements. You are both very smart, opinionated people. So how do you deal with, what's the framework or structure you'll use to make decisions? How do you deal with conflict? How do you deal with situations when you all disagree vehemently about things? How do you assign responsibilities to each other and make sure you're not stepping on each other's toes as well?
Yeah, मैं आपका एकदम core में इसको answer करता हूँ वरुण. So that is very important. A lot of people who are starting up have co-founder, एक है, दो है, कभी-कभी तीन भी होते हैं, right? 4 people भी start करते हैं company. It becomes very difficult in the start. It is easier, but as things move, there are different views because everybody is so intelligent. Everybody have their own view, as you rightly said. They will have their different view and different decision-making framework. Somebody will have different decision-making framework. Moment you dissociate yourself with the idea and you critically analyze. So I have one idea, this guy has another idea. These two ideas we have to discuss. It is not my idea. And this is the framework which we are following now, that we are aligning on ideas. There are 10 ideas on the table and nobody is attached to his or her own view. And when you logically present reasons for that, it is much easier as an alignment process. So initially we had done jaise dusre kar rahe hain, we have been mature about it. So we had been able to, then we had our separate areas of working, and now we have gone to another level where we follow alignment process, which is not associating with any view. Every view is right. Whichever view you stand for becomes right. So there is no right view. It's only a view. And this is how we do it.
I guess the other thing that's really important in the entrepreneurial journey is trust, right? And how do you make sure that the trust is always maintained? Because look, everyone's going to make mistakes, everyone's going to make bad decisions along the journey, and it's all part of growing up as a startup, right? It's all part of the maturing process, and I'm sure actually what ends up happening is you learn more through those decisions than the things that actually went perfectly to plan. So how do you ensure that trust is never lost and trust is never broken?
Yeah. So इस पे बहुत अच्छा example है मेरे पास वरुण. How to do that is like, first so definitely you have to have a lot of you should, whenever you are feeling कि यार इसमें trust नहीं आ रहा है, ये काम नहीं कर रहा है, you should go and discuss with other entrepreneurs, right, who have been in this journey for past. For example, we did an ATL campaign, right? It was the first ATL campaign and वो नहीं चला, है ना? We spent a lot. एंड जब वो स्पेंड कर रहे थे एट दैट टाइम, वो जब वो नहीं चला, राइट, स्पेंड कर रहे थे तब भी बहुत हमें वो घुस था कि यार इतना पैसा हम खर्च कर रहे हैं. एंड जब वो नहीं किक किया, देन यू डेफिनेटली लूज ट्रस्ट ऑन योर मार्केटिंग हेड, लेट्स से, और मार्केटिंग टीम, है ना, क्या है तो चला नहीं. आई वेंट टू अ लॉट ऑफ अदर सीनियर्स. उन्होंने बोला अच्छा तूने, एंड बिफोर लॉन्चिंग द कैंपेन, जस्ट बिफोर अ वीक लॉन्चिंग द कैंपेन, कि हम ये करने वाले हैं, राइट. एंड ही सेड अच्छा ये तुम कर रहे हो तो ये तो 3 बार करना पड़ेगा, पहली बार तो क्रैक ही नहीं होगा, दूसरी बार तुम उसके जो एनालिसिस होंगे वो लगाओगे वो भी क्रैक नहीं होगा, जो तीसरा कैंपेन होगा वहां जाके तुम क्रैक करोगे, राइट. सो सिंस आई हैड दैट एक्सपीरियंस एंड वो सेड कि मल्टीपल लोगों से बात करने के बाद उनको ये पता चला, एंड दैट इज व्हाई दे डिड थर्ड कैंपेन जो स्टक हुआ. Other people also I spoke to. So 3 to 4 campaigns you get it. Now let us say if I would not have spoken to them and I would have just इस पे analysis किया होता, I would be in soup. I would have lost trust, right? बट नाउ आई नो कि पहला कैंपेन तो नहीं चलना है, ये तो मेरे को पहले से ही पता था. सो उसमें कितना लिमिटेड हम रिस्क ले सकते हैं. एंड सेकंड लॉन्च होगा वो भी नहीं चलेगा, ये भी पता है. थर्ड वाला जो मेरा होगा वो मेरे को समझ में आएगा, बिकॉज मैं लॉन्च भी कर दूंगा. कम्युनिकेशन क्या होने चाहिए, लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स आर नॉट नोन. एवरी कंपनी गोज टू द सेम जर्नी. इफ यू गेट एडवाइस फ्रॉम सम एक्सपीरियंस एंटरप्रेन्योर्स, दैट विल हेल्प यू. जो तुम्हारे ब्रेन के ये वाले क्वेश्चंस हैं, दैट विल सॉल्व एंड यू विल हैव अ हायर ट्रस्ट ऑन योर on events which are happening.
Understood. Now, again, maybe since you brought up the ATL campaign, right, would love to get your perspective on how you think about branding, right? I know, like, and maybe as part of that, you can talk a little bit about what Zeno does. And, I know for a long time, the business didn't have to spend any money on marketing. There was a lot of very strong word of mouth, and that basically carried the business. But at some point, you started spending more dollars on marketing, and like you said, they didn't necessarily pan out. What were the lessons along the way, and how do you think about ATL, BTL, just word of mouth branding, things like that?
Yeah. So starting with that, what do we do? So I'll just for everybody's sake. So we are into democratizing healthcare. So we call ourselves Zeno. We are a revolution who is democratizing healthcare. In healthcare, the biggest cost is medicine. And in India, medicine are very expensive. Being the generic capital of the world, India में लोगों को generic as a generic नहीं मिलता है. Generic भी branded की तरह ही मिलता है. And that is the opportunity which we saw when we were doing multiple things in pharma. Me and Girish saw, and we said कि यार ये एक बहुत बड़ा धांधली चल रहा है इन इंडिया, कि यार जो मेडिसिन लोग डॉक्टर लिख रहे हैं वो भी जेनरिक है, और वो लोग ले रहे हैं बिकॉज डॉक्टर लिख रहे हैं, और वो मोनोपोली की तरह बिक रहा है. व्हेन यू एजुकेट पीपल, दे विल बिकम अवेयर, एंड दैट अवेयरनेस विल हेल्प देम सेव 80 to 90% on their medicine bill, while not compromising in any aspect, neither on quality, neither on anything, just because the awareness is not there. And that is where we started our omnichannel hyperlocal store network, which start educating people, giving them option, and making them or enabling them to make the right choice by consulting with their doctors, right? कि अच्छा आज मेरी अगर 1000 रुपए का बास्केट है मेडिसिन का, सेम टू सेम क्वालिटी मुझे मिल सकती है 300 rupees, and it will save them a lot of money which they can use for even better health चीजों के लिए, right? So that is what we do. As you said, like now we are at 50 million GMB ARR, and have served more than 15 lakh consumers, saved them 250 crore in last 3 to 4 years, right? Initially, when we started, I would just say, and for everybody who is watching this video, when we started कि हम generics बेचेंगे, right? The whole ecosystem, if you see, of medicine was against it, right? Companies don't want to tell कि generics क्या है और generics कैसे बिकता है. Doctors don't want to write. Other retailers want to sell generics at higher price. Consumer is also not aware. जिसके लिए वो है कि अरे generic अच्छा है या नहीं है, right? So if you see, every stakeholder जो इसमें है is all against generics. But we had the belief कि if we crack this, if we educate consumer, get them highest quality generics at the best of price, this will change, right? So that belief was there, and we stood for consumer, right, at that time. एंड जब कंज्यूमर आए, पहले 2 कंज्यूमर आए, उनको एजुकेट किया, उन्होंने 4 को किया, 4 से मल्टीप्लायर इफेक्ट हुआ, एंड अ लॉट ऑफ वर्ड ऑफ माउथ started happening when we started this, right? But as you move forward in your journey, right, जब फिर ये तो पहले जब खुद ही स्टोर पे थे, फिर मैनेजर्स आए, फिर और मैनेजर्स, and then it becomes a company. And when it becomes a company, it becomes important that you start communicating with consumer, right, even at a larger scale. And that is where we felt कि अच्छा ये तो चल रहा है, but इसका एक ही growth stage हो सकता है. Now we have to have a lot of people जो also भी इसको जाने, not only people जो हमारे अंदर walk in किया उसी को जानने को मिले, right? And that is where all branding and stuff came into play. And only last year we started doing excessive or it started putting dollars in marketing, right? And then we had our share of learning, as I discussed before कि जब पहली बार करते हैं तो नहीं पता चलता है क्या है. We had that share, but the most important point we learned in this ATL is, and I think that is a marketing में जितने भी लोग होंगे उनको पता भी होगा, that communicating the why. So when we were not doing any marketing, our why was very clear because we are communicating with consumer directly at our store. So why was going very correctly. But when you do our marketing and ATL, उसमें हमारा why उतना गॉड या उतना अच्छे तरीके से communicate नहीं हुआ, right? And now when we are designing our campaigns, that why to come to Zeno, right? Even we had a change of our brand, and that has also some impact उसका negative आया हमारे ऊपर, because Genrico has a very high equity. Zeno Health को लेने में थोड़ा time लगेगा, but there are certain things which changed, and our why was not that clear into our campaign. That has caused us that did not work. But now we will change our communication, communicate why we are standing, what is the reason Zeno stand for, and that why will help us get our communication right to our consumers.
I think you brought up Generico, and again, just for the viewers' sake, Zeno Health used to be called Generico when it started, and it rebranded. I think, and I think a few entrepreneurs may go through this, have to deal with this in their journey, and I don't think it's often talked about enough. Why did you have to change from Generico to Zeno? What prompted it? What was the process like? I know you had a very detailed, meticulous, thought through transition plan. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that. What went wrong? Obviously you said that there was a lot of brand equity there. Were we able to translate what were the lessons? What went right? And maybe what advice would you give to entrepreneurs who are listening to you in terms of how to manage that transition?
Yeah. So Varun, we were a young company. 2-3 साल का ही मैं experience था, marketing में तो बहुत ज़्यादा experience था नहीं, right? Brand transition is like big task. Like big companies invest a lot so that it lands properly. So we were I would say naive in there. So we had done a lot of things. The Genrico से Zeno इसलिए हुआ था because we wanted to have a larger brand name through which we can do a lot of things, just not in medicine. But Genrico was restricting ourselves with only the medicine part of it, right? And then there were some compliance issue also. So multiple things. Generic बहुत name हो रहा था, so we had to change our name for our larger purpose and vision, right? And in that pursuit, I would say we were a bit naive. We did whatever we thought at that time is possible. There are two things I would say the learning है उसमें. The first is ये जब भी हुआ ये pandemic के अंदर हुआ, right? So when things changed, we were not able to communicate very powerfully to consumers because consumers उस time आ ही नहीं रहे थे, right? So it happened, and so it's like ये external factor था and we could not help it. We had to change it, and that was the only time we could do it. So one of the factor was like the pandemic was there, and a lot of less number of people we were able to communicate directly about the brand change. And the second impact was at the time of changing, or at the time of changing, we changed a lot of things, right? We changed the color, we changed a lot of things. It could have been slowly slow change where at least color se wo relate kar sakte the. We could have Genrico as a name for a longer time because it was a pandemic, so that we didn't do. Slowly changes so that people absorb it could have been better. But now everything is done. But now the campaign is also live, and we are seeing that slowly. We have done the studies also, consumer studies, that is slowly people are realizing यही है. And एक और चीज जो हमारी change हो गई थी वो हमारी tagline थी IIT Bombay Alumni Initiative, which was dropped, and that is where people felt कि यार दूसरी store आ गई है. Now we are bringing that back so that people related to that line much more than anything else. So we are bringing that line back as well so that they can relate to us in the same way as they were doing in past.
Yeah. So, Siddharth, I think you're on obviously a very unique mission, right? You're trying to create a market in many ways, right? We're not trying to displace, or we're not trying to move customers from one channel to the other. The generic, I think you must today probably be amongst the largest purchasers or retailers of generics in the country.
Yeah.
And you've got there in a very, very short period of time, which is obviously a staggering achievement as a business. All of that involved a lot of process of building trust within the organization, because you obviously need to convince the internal stakeholders first to be able to go out and pitch it convincingly. It also involved convincing a lot of customers, right? In terms of being able to, switch what their doctor is prescribing, switch from what their doctor is prescribing to an alternative medicine, right? And health is obviously something that people hold very dearly, and is not an area where people take a lot of risks. But you spoke about how you saved 250 crores of spend on medicines for people, serviced 15 lakh customers. Those are all staggering numbers and phenomenal achievements that you managed to accomplish. How have you done that? Like how have you built that trust? How have you set the culture internally? How has that translated from a customer perspective?
Yeah, so fair question, Varun. So when we started day zero, right? Me and Girish, we started as कि ये हमें पता चला है कि यार ये एक धांधली चल रही है. We have to educate consumer, and we stood at the counter. So me and Girish were at the. So when we opened our first store, we stood at the counter, interacting with consumer 6 months straight. There was no office for 1 year. So we had multiple stores, but we were standing at those stores so that we can communicate with consumer and identify उनको क्या issue आ रहा है. अच्छा, उनको ये चाहिए कि मैं डॉक्टर से पूछूं, डॉक्टर ने मना कर दिया तो क्या करेंगे? We said 100% आपको पैसा वापस दे देंगे, right? These are the trust activities, and then we build a tech कि हम उनको पैसा वापस कर सकें, right? There were issues कि they want to see कि जिसका जो or things like very transparently doing it, right? So in our the MRP of medicine is high, the margin is high, and we pass that margin to consumer, and that is how it becomes generic, right? अगर वो किसी और स्टोर से सेम प्रोडक्ट भी लेंगे, they will never know कि वो generic है, but they will end up paying more. So what we did is we stamped our barcode and put the price onto it, so that when a consumer comes, he does not feel कि आज मुझे 10 में मिला और कल मुझे 12 में मिल रहा है, because that was the prevalence जो उसके पहले हो रहा था, right? So transparently setting the price and consistently making your processes so that or the learning so that consumer को वो मिले जो उसको चाहिए. For example, we did not push any generics to consumer, है ना, कि यार हमने generics तो हम generic नहीं push कर रहे. What we did is did it as a non selling. We educated them कि आपकी दवाई ये है, इसका generic ये है, right? You take both this medicine to a doctor and show, right? नहीं होगा तो आप दोनों मेरे को वापस लेके आ जाना. So in that pursuit we had to keep a lot of branded medicine also, right? But we said कि हाँ, अगर consumer को सब चाहिए, आज वो नहीं चाहता है generic लेना और कल लेगा या परसों लेगा, he should be attached to us, and with time he will convert to generics, right? So your system, processes, technology, your way of talking to consumer, and your system when consumer has a doubt, how you react to that doubt, right? All this helps building the trust, and establishment is also one of the most important part. That why we are opening our store network also along with our online play, is that establishment gives trust. कि अगर मेरे एरिया में तो ऐसा नहीं कि आज मैंने दवाई ली और ये कल चला जाएगा, मैंने ऑनलाइन ली कुछ भी भेज दिया, राइट? एंड in that establishment you have trained pharmacists, right? That generate trust. So ये सारी की सारी एक्टिविटीज जिससे वो जो 20 साल से दवाई खा रहा है बंदा वो चेंज करे, has to be done, and we have done that थोड़ा slowly. But everything when we did was the lens of consumer को उसको ट्रस्ट कैसे जनरेट होगा. उसके लिए स्टोर चाहिए, स्टोर डालेंगे. उसके लिए ट्रेन फार्मासिस्ट चाहिए, ट्रेन फार्मासिस्ट विद कोड विद द यूनिफॉर्म अवेलेबल रहेगा, राइट? All his data will be maintained. कल वो वापस लेके आना चाहता है तो हम देंगे. So we made the whole tech before launching the store, right? How much the pricing should be was a standard algorithm जो हमने लगाया, so that उसको कितना फायदा और हमें नुकसान नहीं हो और हम उसको maximum फायदा पास कर सकें and consistently कर सकें. He should be able to see the value in multiple bills. If they need to speak to their doctor, our pharmacist can speak to their doctor, right? All this generate trust, and consistently delivering and what you promise keeps that trust alive. So that is what we have done.
Just the last couple of questions, Siddharth. I know you have to go, so just bear with us. I guess one area that a lot of entrepreneurs have questions around and is fundraising, right? When is the right time to fundraise? How much to fundraise? And also, how do you choose who's the right partner, right? I heard one investor made an interesting comment recently that the best company should not continue to chase valuation. You should set a price and then ask all interested parties to come and offer up the term sheet at that price, and then you choose or you pick the investor that you want, because valuations today tend to run up much further than the businesses tend to deserve. So how do you think about all of this?
इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चन है वरुण. बहुत सारे लोगों को ये तो बहुत ज़्यादा पेन आता है ये कि पहले तो पैसा किससे ले, कहाँ से लें, कैसे चूज करें. But the foremost of it is you should have some skin which you put on your idea yourself first, right? Because that is going to tell you whether you believe in that idea or not. अगर खुद का पैसा आप उस आइडिया पे नहीं लगा पा रहे हो तो फिर आपको कोई और दूसरा भी नहीं लगाएगा. That is the litmus test, right? If you have 5 to 6 lakhs saving, are you willing to put that? Or if you have 20 lakhs saving, you are willing to put that? We did that. We had raised money for some idea. We had वो सारा money drain हो गया. And in that journey, we realized that generic is the key. In that we put our own money, we borrowed money and put money, right? And that is where, because जब वो करता है कोई entrepreneur, तब investor को भी लगता है कि हाँ ये believe कर रहा है, इसने अपना इतना खुद का पैसा लगाया है. This is where ये मतलब जो test of founder है वो उससे आता है, right? So it is two way. You yourself will be convinced 100% कि यार मैं जब इस पे उधार लेके भी पैसा लगाने को ready हूँ, this is where I believe in, this happens. It gives you confidence to your investor also कि यार ये बंदा अगर ये किसी और का पैसा लगा रहा है, this is what he believes in. ऐसा नहीं कि वो उसके पास idea जब तक पैसा नहीं आएगा तब तक मैं करूंगा नहीं, right? Because those are not the people investors want to back. So this is one of the foremost thing which people should do. The second is when you do that, you get PMF, right? Maybe इतनी जल्दी नहीं आएगा, but आपने सिंस वो पैसा भी लगाया, you will get some angels. आज तो बहुत easily angels available होते हैं. You get smaller money to do the PMF. Never go and raise के यार मैं multi-million का ही एक seed round करूँ. Always raise smaller, because smaller money will help you be creative in that initial stage. है ना? It is good to have constraints and then you can think better. So smaller money and get the PMF. Until the PMF is achieved, no point of raising the money. So for us, our 2 store has given us the PMF, right? हमने दोनों store डाली, sale एकदम skyrocket हो गए. Within 6 months, we knew that this is the way to go, and that is where we started going to VCs. Before that, there were angel money, and for us, it was all friends and families borrowed money, which we did for the PMF. So the first is that you should be willing to put your own pocket money or borrowed money. That is the first thing that gives that will tell you whether ये आपको लग रहा है कि नहीं होगा ना. वो सबसे पहला clear gate है. And then when you have the PMF, you should go for it. The kind of investors, definitely the kind of investor who have experience of investing, foremost, the first and foremost. The second is who have entrepreneurs who are investing. Because in your journey, you will have a lot of ups and downs. A financial investor जिसने सिर्फ invest किया वो कभी नहीं समझेंगे. For example, अगर मैं कल को VC बनता हूँ, I would be able to relate to founders problem much more than anybody else who has not been in that journey. ठीक है, वो नीचे भी आया तो मुझे पता है कि अच्छा ये तो होना ही है, right? The company I have invested in, उसमें एक दूसरा भी investor उसने बोला कि ऐसा ऐसा करना चाहिए, मैंने बोला नहीं, हमको इसको छोड़ देना चाहिए, डूब जाएंगे पैसे, that is okay. But that is the journey which they have to take. So people who have started their company have become have become VCs now, who relate to your problems much more, will stand with you much more in any thick and thins, are the kind of investors you should go for. Same is for angel also.
Got it. Okay, cool. I think we're at the end of this. So just a couple of quick rapid fire questions, Siddharth.
Yeah.
Complete the sentence. India needs, I'll let you finish. India needs more of dash.
More of entrepreneurs.
India needs less of dash.
Any less of dash? Less of
rapid fire it is. Huh?
Less of poking at failures. Right? So that entrepreneur can rise.
How do you detox?
How do I detox? I started meditation and yoga. That is how I detox. And binge watching. एक दिन कुछ भी नहीं करना है, सिर्फ movies देखनी.
What's your vision for Zeno Health?
Our vision is clear that we want to democratize healthcare.
What's the one thing about your customers that has surprised you the most?
That if you really stand for them, they will stand for you no matter what. वो 1 किलोमीटर भी पैदल चल के आएंगे आपके लिए, if you are standing for them.
Got it. Your most embarrassing moment?
Most embarrassing moment? ये तो personal हो गया.
Okay. Your go-to medicine for a headache?
Go to medicine for headache? अब मैं तो नहीं लेता हूँ medicine for headache. I don't take medicine. I am in business of medicine. I really want people don't take medicine. Be with it for some time and let your body heal it. This like of medicine. Don't take medicine.
I think just to that, Siddharth is an interesting story. I think, and this just speaks to the culture of the organization also, right? I remember that there was a customer who came to one of their stores, and Siddharth will probably tell the story better than I do, but they asked for a medicine. Siddharth,
So it was a lactobacillus medicine, and we were engineers. हमको लगा lactobacillus ये तो कर्ड में होता है, so हमने उनको बोला कि आप ये डॉक्टर से पूछिए, आपको ये मेडिसिन क्यों लेनी है, आप तो कर्ड खा लीजिए, right? So why to take medicine when you have natural things which can definitely help you? Definitely they went to doctor, asked, वो हुआ नहीं हुआ पता नहीं, but we stood in a place where we want to educate यार कि medicine खाना भी जरूरी नहीं है, मतलब there are things which are not required, iron के लिए, इन सब के लिए there are a lot of things which you can eat. Just popping pills is not going to help. Not popping pills, getting it better through your diet, and the saying is like food is the medicine, right? Food is the medicine, and that is what we believe in. We are in a process जहाँ पे definitely chronic है तो लोगों को चाहिए ailment के लिए, but the whole idea is in future that how we can make people live healthy without eating medicines.
Cool. And I guess the final question before we end is, what's the one piece of advice you'd give to founders starting up today?
Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Nobody else will believe. You have to only believe in yourself and stick to it. And if belief is shaking, then that is वो belief है ही नहीं फिर आपका, right? वो फिर आपने कहीं और से acquire कर लिया है और आपको लग रहा है कि आइडिया कर लेता हूँ, right? पास US का आइडिया देख लिया और कर लेता हूँ. If you don't believe in it, कोई भी आइडिया बहुत गॉड चीज कभी क्रैक नहीं होगी. Only the things which you believe in, हो सकता है कोई और बिलीव नहीं कर रहा, but you will be able to crack.
All right. Cool. Thanks, Siddharth. Thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it. I've learned so much more despite knowing you for so many years. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks. Bye-bye.